Okay, we will start in another minute, just waiting for a few more people to join. All those people who joined early, thank you very much.
Well, Vinny, thank you for putting this together.
You are very welcome, Tim. Hey, Neil, sounds like Neil Kane, looks like you raised your hand. Unfortunately, we can't have your audio, but you could type any questions that you have in the Q&A option that you see on your toolbar, or you could send us a chat message. Okay, I'm going to fire up a poll while people are waiting. Hey, Tim, what do you see on my screen? Just the PowerPoint, right?
Yes, and I see your poll.
Oh, you see my poll, okay.
I can't vote. It tells me I can't vote.
Oh, because you are a panelist. All right, so with that, how about we get started? Because it's 1 minute after 3 o'clock, and we want to be respectful of people who joined early. So welcome, everyone. My name is Vinny Gupta, and I am a co-founder of UCEazy. This is the last webinar of our College Admissions Demystified webinar series for May, but we have put together another awesome series for June. So please do look that up on uceeazy.com/events. Mm-hmm. Today's topic is going to be, how does an admissions officer think? And our guest for today would be Tim Ravey, who is a current admissions director from UC Berkeley. And he would be interviewed by an awesome person, Rik Napora, who has 18 years of counseling experience at public high schools. Before we jump into the session for today, let me change my screen. Give me a second here. See what's going on. Oh, okay, sorry. I just wanted to give you a very brief introduction to UCEazy, the company that I co-founded. UCEazy stands for Universities and Colleges Made Easy. Our scope is nationwide, not just University of California or UC. And we have a very simple vision: make college admissions easy for every family, not just the ultra affluent whose children go to private schools or who hire extremely expensive private college admissions counselors. The inspiration for UCEazy, actually my personal journey, was that I'm a dad of 2 kids. My wife and I are both from India. We are first-generation immigrants who did not attend college here, college meaning undergrad level. So when we went through the college admissions process for our kids, we really had no idea what was going on. So from that experience, UCEazy was born. We did not want people to go through the same level of anxiety and stress that we went through, especially in an immigrant-heavy state like California. But having said that, just to repeat that our scope is nationwide, and we support all colleges nationwide. In terms of our solutions, we have 3 solutions. The first is that, if you see on your slide here, UCEazy Union is an online network of high-quality experts like Rik Napora today, who you would meet up close and personal. These people have been handpicked by us for their ability for college admissions counseling, but also that empathy and care for kids. The second thing is that we put together these free educational events like today's webinar or seminars. And you can go to our site, uceeazy.com, the events page, and you can see the different webinars and seminars that we have. And lastly, on our site, we have a section called Toolbox, where there are a bunch of web applications completely free that you can use to help you with the college admissions journey. Before I ask Rik and Tim to step in, from a housekeeping perspective, unfortunately, we cannot unmute your audio. If you have any housekeeping questions, please use the chat that I can respond to, or Rik and Tim can. And for asking questions that you can do all the time, please use Q&A and not chat. With that, Rik, would you please introduce yourself and Tim?
Sure. My name is Rik Napora, as Vinny has mentioned, and started out my career in education as an English teacher after I did a stint in the military, and I was a federal law enforcement officer. And for the last 18 years, I've been counseling kids at all levels of anxiety and all levels of demographics in some of the most competitive schools in the state of California. And I also teach at the graduate level for counselors that are in training to become counselors. And the reason I became a counselor is just because my personal journey was my parents didn't go to college. My high school counselor spent maybe 5 minutes with me and didn't give me much good advice. And after having a decade of jobs that never really fit my passions, I wanted to do something that would help my kids make decisions sooner rather than later and not have to go through that sort of a circuitous route. And with that, I'd like to introduce Tim Ravey, who's a real live admissions representative from UC Berkeley.
Hi, how are you doing?
Excellent.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that this is what scary admissions officers look like in real life. And remember that all of us, no matter what school we represent, we're an honest broker on your behalf. So you're doing us a favor when you come to our schools, not the other way around. And I just want to let you know that, yes, I do thousands every year. To me, it's very, very important. Same thing, I come from a similar background. We're immigrants. I was first generation college, and same thing. I kind of had to figure it out all on my own. And since then, I've just been helping people like Rik and like Vinny do the same mission, get as many people into a four-year college any way possible so they get that bachelor's degree. And I try to do it without spending a lot of money.
Yeah, I just wanted to, for the audience, I just wanted to share with you that Tim is spending all this time today and all the preparation that went into it. There is nothing in it for him excepting giving back. So he's here to help families make the right choices. So Tim, thank you for being who you are.
Oh, I'm as grateful to be doing this work. I really appreciate you inviting me today.
Very welcome. All right. So, Rik, with that, should we show the audience your questions?
Sure.
Okay.
So, Tim, when I'm in my counseling office on a daily basis, some of the questions that parents and students want to know right away is what factors would you as an admissions officer consider in an application from an applicant?
First, every college is going to look at your classroom performance. There's no way around that. And in addition, most schools now use what Berkeley invented, which is holistic review. So holistic review says we're a big school. We're gonna find students here that are strong in the classroom, but are not perfect, but they're really strong in other areas that are important to the campus. So that's why you're often asked about activities or leadership, and that's also why any personal expression, or if you get a chance with a college to do an interview, all that information is going to be used on your behalf. Remember, you're never rejected. You're always selected by a college. And they know that there's many times more students in their application pool they'd love to have. They just don't have the room. So I don't want you feeling defensive ever when you're working with the school. Don't worry about the reputation. There's never anybody at any school, even like a Berkeley, that's any better than us. They know things. That's why we're going to go there. But we're just as good as they are, and you want to present yourself as this is what I've accomplished so far, and then let the colleges work with that to try to fit you in.
And then, true or false, standardized test scores are almost critical in terms of at least the UC, if not schools around most of North America.
Rik brings up a really good point. Some schools, it's really important. They go by the numbers. You're going to have other schools like Berkeley where we look at it differently. Some of us don't test that well. Some of us don't have the resources to prepare for them. So when you have good exams at Berkeley, we're going to use that for you as a plus. But if you don't, it's not a stigma. It's not a minus. We're going to really focus on the opportunities you had, and that's your classroom work. And whatever you did outside the class to your benefit, whatever you did with those opportunities.
And then to echo on something you had mentioned originally about the level of classwork that's been taken, I also get the question that's related to this, which is, should I get an A in a easier class or a B in a more challenging class?
Well, Berkeley's going to say get an A in everything. But seriously, we're going to admit students without perfect 4.0s. It's a good point Rik makes, though, is that competitive schools like a Berkeley, we're going to look at the rigor. So if your school has it, we're going to hope that you took it. If your school doesn't have it, you're not held to that. But when you're in a competitive school, we're going to be comparing you to what other people did with those opportunities. And I'll say one thing, though. In the UC application, there's going to be information about your personal background. And when you have challenges, maybe only one parent, not a lot of income, nobody speaks English, first generation college, we want to know those things, because even though you're going to a really high performing school, your own personal situation is what we're going to look at. And we'll take that into account for you. So relax about that. Remember, the application, particularly UC, we want to know all that information about what you had to work with to see comparatively how well you did. And we'll do that to help you.
And so that's a perfect segue into the next question. What is the exact purpose of an application?
For most colleges, and Berkeley's particular, this is not an audition. This is just a statement of like, this is what I've been doing. This is what I accomplished. And right now, as a 17 or 18-year-old, this is what I want to do. You're certainly not held to that. You're expected to expand your opportunities, decide maybe something different. We'll talk about declaring majors later. But again, this is not an audition. This is not a job interview, not for UCs and not for most schools. They just want to see what you've been doing. And that's the best predictor of what you're going to do when you get on campus.
And just to let the audience know that the UC, their applications have opened a little bit earlier in the last couple of years. Now it's August.
Right.
My students have told me that and I've helped them with the application, it's relatively painless. There is a personal insight that has changed slightly, which does take some time. But to let you know, applications vary by college. So if you're applying to the Common App schools, there could be individual supplements that differ for one college versus another that some kids have said are even harder than a personal statement. And so some schools are extremely easy. They don't ask for letters of recommendation or personal statements or anything other than straight GPA and test scores. And others, you want to plan well in advance. So the next question would be, if I'm applying to a college, Berkeley or most colleges, does choosing a specific major matter in any way? It
can. Like a technical school like Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, or like the College of Engineering on the Berkeley campus. They'll ask you on your application to select one of their majors. Now, you're not going to be stuck in that major necessarily for your whole career. They want to know where to start you. So you want to try to spend with those schools, you want to visit, you want to find out, maybe talk to people that do that kind of work to see if it's cool or if it sucks. I mean, you want to know on your way in. You don't have to, but it's a little bit more focused. Most schools, liberal arts, Berkeley, 85% of the students are liberal arts. So you can state a major on your application for UC liberal arts college, but it's not going to influence your admission. You're admitted to that liberal arts college expecting to take 1 or 2 years to figure out what you want to major in. So yes, sometimes it can, but most of the times you're supposed to find out after you get there. It's hard to know. Berkeley has 200 math classes. I got 27 different kinds of biology. How do you know which one you want to finish until you get on campus and you can see the buffet, see what's there?
And Tim made some excellent points. For example, at Berkeley, I know if an applicant's going to go for College of Engineering, they want enhanced SAT subject scores. For example, they wanted the math and they wanted a hard science.
Right, they want a lab science. Mm-hmm.
And then Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo is unique in that they want you to pick a major before you get admitted, and that's the major they pretty much keep you with. There have been cases of kids being asked to leave the campus more or less because they've tried to change a major and try to sneak it in kind of back door. And then there's other kids that come to me and they say, I heard a friend or a parent or relative tell me that I should apply to an under-applied to major as a strategy, but I would always advise against that. And how about you? If someone thought they were going to have an edge by getting into a major that didn't interest them whatsoever, do you think that's a safe move?
I'd say for the audience, we make just two main points. One is I can sit here and say, oh, we try to make it simple for you, but it's not. And Vinny will say, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg, but you probably want to get some kind of help to maximize your chances. You don't want to shoot just one arrow at the target. You want to spread it out. People like Rik can do that for you. And that's what you want to consider to take some of the stress off this opportunity to get into college.
And we just had a question that I thought I'd bring up because it's related to exactly what we're talking about. Tell us about Berkeley's latest decision as the only UC that was going to read letters of recommendation.
Oh, well, yeah. Remember, every college admissions department has two audiences. I have the clients, you, that the college wants, but then the faculty, they run the school. It's different than you think. So the faculty is, I mean, they're the superstars. They're what you pay your ticket for, to see the faculty. And so they have a lot of input into what faculty ask for. They would like admissions to turn over every stone and find every little gold nugget, every perfect kid that's out there. And we do too. But think about it. We had over 100,000 applications last year at Berkeley. I did 2,800 freshmen and 500 transfer. Yeah, this guy. So that's a lot of work because we're very careful. Bottom line is, yes, Berkeley would like to do more, have information. So that trend is going to continue. Right now, it's probably about 1 student in 7. That's probably going to expand. It's a lot more work for students and for counselors like Rik. So we understand the trade-off. But just understand that the motivation behind that is not to create more trouble for you, but simply to give me an opportunity to know a little bit more about you.
And the other UCs,
it helps at big schools. We're going to admit 13,000 freshmen.
But the other UCs are not doing recommendations. Berkeley's the only one that kind of pioneered that, isn't it?
It's a trend. it'll be growing, I would think, not just at Berkeley campus. And again, the whole motivation, even if it's not comfortable for you, is to help me help you, pull you into Berkeley. I'm trying to get you all in. We don't, I see on the Twitter, the kids go, I got rejected by Berkeley. I get it. I was 18, I was dramatic, but we don't reject people. I'm going to pull in as many people. I'd be happy to get 40 or 50,000 if I had chairs for everybody. So what your application can do when you're asked for more information, give it. Find a way to give the information, because that means we're trying to get you in.
And then another good segue into the next question about essays. So do essays, personal statements, personal insights, supplements really matter?
They do. Remember, no one thing, even your GPA, says, no, yay, yes, you're in. Doesn't work that way. But I'm looking for people in there. And when I can't interview 100,000 people, but I can find out a little bit about you. That's why you can't be phony baloney on these. I don't want to see plethora in your, unless you walk around school all day saying plethora. I mean, that'd be cool, but it's probably not you. So when you have an opportunity to do one of these, ask a friend or a grandpa, like Grandpa Tim, say, hey, is this me? And if it isn't, I say, no, it's you. It's kind of the phony baloney. You rewrite it, because you're already good enough to get into any college. We just want to see, how do you feel about things? And that's what the change is coming up for UC. The other ones were kind of big. These are going to be smaller, tighter, so you can explain yourself. But be prepared also to have somebody ask you about you. Maybe you never had that happen. Say, how do you feel about something? And you go, well, what do they want? I want to know what you think. And if you're 17, like I was, and you're not sure, say, well, I'm not sure, but I think that's good enough. You understand? I'm 65. I used to be 17. I work for 17-year-olds. I love 17-year-olds. So you're not expected to be a 65-year-old know-it-all talking on, a webinar. You're supposed to be you. My job is to get you to that next level, and it helps if you've got something to say about what you're passionate about. And passionate doesn't mean you're jumping up and down. It just means, I really dig this. I really like it.
Well, and one of the perks about being a guidance counselor is when I go to the Harvard workshops with UPenn or the Ivies or any of those schools, they tell us a little different things than they would tell parents. So one of the reps from Stanford told me the next time she reads a personal statement from someone who said, I help the poor in a village in Mexico, she said she would vomit. She said, because if someone really wants to help the poor that much, they would start by their own neighborhood. They would start by doing things that they could do locally that they don't have to fly to Africa or to another country to do.
Honestly, kids and parents, let me tell you, if you're helping your family with chores, I'm not exaggerating. I want to hear about that. If you're helping your siblings, okay, that's big. That says something more about you than I got my picture in the yearbook 12 times. I'm in all these clubs. Usually. I'm interested in the person back there, not the list of accomplishments so much, but you come on campus, you're going to be with people like, I'm trying to put you with people like you. Does that make sense? So Berkeley doesn't have magic Berkeley dust to change you. Okay? You change Berkeley by being there. I need you to understand that. You're that important to us. You change us for the better by being there. All 6,000 of you. 25,000 for the whole term. So when we're putting you in there, we're going, man, you're really going to like this. This is going to be good for you. But you're going to be good with the other people that are on campus. Does that make sense?
Well, the other thing I saw once personally was, as an English teacher, I had a girl who was a Russian immigrant, and her first essay was about the smell of the stove and how it reminded her of growing up in her own country, and it was wonderful. And then her English teacher got a hold of it, and all of a sudden it was littered with words like, as I strode amongst the, the shell-strewn beach, and it, yeah, and it ruined it.
Well, it's okay. It's not going to hurt.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be that helpful because it's not you. And you want to think about it that way. This is an opportunity. Tell me about you. You're great. You're eligible for UC. Just tell me about you. We already love you. So just tell me about the things that are important to you. And I'll think, boy, that he or she could do that here on this campus.
And
that's how it helps.
And as a counselor, I always recommend that my kids lock themselves in their room and just write from the heart. And it should sound like it's in their own voice. If there was a stranger that met them at a restaurant and they were to read that, what kind of a person would you think that person was? Because all too often, like you had said, I think they try to make it a laundry list of everything that you could read in the application already.
So if I could say it one more time, I have a strong English background. I can spell, I can punctuate. When I'm reading these, I don't care. I'm not looking at the lyrics. I'm listening for the music. Is it coming from your heart? Do you understand that? So just tell me in your own words what it is. Rik's right. It's not easy if you haven't done it before, but it's not complicated. It takes a little practice.
And then, so this is kind of like a plan B, but I also consider it a plan A for most kids. Let's say that UC just isn't in the cards for a student. At which point should someone consider attending a community college?
I did. When I got out of high school in 1969, I was admitted to UCLA and Davis, but not Berkeley. And I grew up in Alameda, pretty close by to Berkeley. And we didn't have any money, so I went to College of Alameda. What I learned is that then, just like today, 30% of the people who graduate from a UC are admitted as junior transfers. That's the system. That's how it's supposed to work. You could also transfer to any Cal State from the two-year system, but the two-year system has little tricks. Listen to Grandpa here. You don't want to be in a hurry. Speed don't matter, but quality. If you start out and you're going to get some C's, drop that class. Get A's from the very beginning, they'll get easier. Because when you apply to Berkeley, when you got all A's, guess what? You're in the front of the line. And when you transfer as a junior, guess what? When you're on campus, you have more priority for classes than every freshman and every sophomore that got admitted as a freshman at Berkeley. So there's pluses and minuses, but you need a little bit of mentoring on that so that you don't mess it up. In my case, it was financial. But sometimes it's just a question of readiness. I'm 65. I admit transfers every year that are older than me to Berkeley. They're retired, or they want to get something. Understand that in California, the system is there for you whenever you're ready.
And I went to
it's not a race.
I went to community colleges as well, and I think it's always where you finish and not where you start. And the interesting part is in California, it's one of the few places that has a guaranteed transfer to 6 of the UCs. The only 3 that aren't in the agreement are Berkeley and UCLA and San Diego. But I have a ton of students that might have a 3.1 that don't really have a chance of getting into one of those 6 UCs. And they can get a guaranteed transfer, and all they need to do is go to community college and show that they can maintain a relatively decent GPA. So not too many guarantees in life.
Well, I love in my lifetime being able to tell people I was a Berkeley grad, because some people look at me and go like, "You're lying." Yeah. The thing is, for undergraduate education, it's great, but it's not head and shoulders above other UCs for the bachelor's degree experience. Remember, all these schools are research, so you lump all the value in all that other stuff. It's the student. I wasn't ready for Berkeley out of Encinal High, but I was ready out of College of Alameda. So it's me. It's not the school. And when you get your admissions offers back, understand that they're kind of going to tell you where you are right now. That's not where you're going to end up. You decide where you end up.
And
I want to get you going towards college out of high school, one way or the other.
And in your role, just to let the audience know that it is in fact possible, when you review transfer applicants, how many of them come from community college, would you say?
Only about 90%. Yeah.
So it actually works.
Yeah. And yeah. So, but again, you want to, you get a little lost in community college if you're not focused. And with the cutback, sometimes the staff there can't counsel you as well as they'd like. I mean, but it's another way on the freeway, man. It's just how you get there.
Different off-ramp. And then the last question that kind of encompasses all the questions is, and I get asked this all the time, is how should I select a college?
Well, you have to understand when you're shopping, it's like well, I'm a big guy. I have to buy all my stuff online. And when you're shopping for colleges, having a mentor like Rik is a big help. But you got to do a lot of homework, and you just make it look online. Go there. All the information is there. And then when you kind of got some targets in mind, particularly if they're close by, go see them. I mean, nobody's going to throw you off campus, but go see there. See if how does it look? You're going to be living there. You're going to be succeeding there. And you can sometimes get a feel like, hey, I'm sure the academics are fine, but I'm not loving it here. Berkeley can be like that for people. So, you're going to spend some time there. You want to go to a place where you can succeed. And we try to do that too, but particularly somebody like Rik. I mean, they can see you, touch you, hug you. They know. And they can see where you're ready right now. Again, for a lot of us, there's going to be education beyond the bachelor's degree, but this is the next step. And we want to make sure you get in a good one that's going to be cost effective and where you're going to succeed academically, because frankly, postgraduate stuff, they really focus on your academics even more than where you did it. So careful about that. You don't want to be a C student at Berkeley if you could be an A student at San Jose State.
And that's one of my huge passions is career. And I think that all three of us on the panel that are like, not elders, but we're getting up there as adults.
Well, I am.
I talk to so many adults that say that they had a trajectory and then they changed it for whatever reason. And now they're doing something that's a job, but it's not necessarily something they love. So as soon as a kid comes in my office and says, my mom and dad said I should be, or my uncle said I should go to, I try to get them to divorce from that. And I try to find out what it is they're looking for in a college, and it changes their list of colleges instantly.
Well, as a parent and a grandparent, I appreciate any respect, that my overbearing, misguided notions have. Respect me a little bit. So, but yeah, I when I talk to people, I talk to the whole family, because, sometimes we don't really know. So it's okay for me to start off in the path that my parents think would be good for me. I mean, they know me better than the college does. But right, ultimately, you're going to be living in your life in that space, and you're going to live to be 100. So you're going to do more than what you do in the next 15 or 20 years. I mean, I didn't expect coming out of high school that I'd be doing this, 45 years later, 47 years later, whatever. I didn't expect I'd be doing this, but I'm good at it. And I certainly didn't go to college to do this, but I learned I'm good at this because my family taught me that, my wife, my children. So life's going to teach you things. Yeah, it's good I had a good education because I need to spell right, but you're going to have passions for things, and things are going to open up that don't exist right now. You need that bachelor's degree to be prepared to handle almost anything. And people like Rik can help you get started.
And fit's hugely important. Again, just like example, I had a kid the other day that didn't get into Berkeley engineering. He didn't get into anything engineering in the state of California, but he's passionate about engineering. So he ended up getting into Bozeman, Montana on what's called WUI, which is a significant tuition break for California schools. So his tuition's only $7,200.
Yes.
He's going to Bozeman. He got a mechanical engineering. He gets to build a sand rail, like stuff he would love to do anyways. And so for him, it was all about fit. And he's going places, and he might end up coming back to California for graduate school, but he's doing what he loves to do, and he's not sad about it at all.
And that's the most important thing. We got you going in a place that didn't cost too much. You were successful. The bachelor's degree prepares you to go to work for a little while, come back to graduate school later if you want. And the graduate department's not going to say, Bozeman, if you're a four-year college and you've got a program, they're going to start looking at, well, specifically what skills and what grades did you get? And then they'll bring you in. So it's a different world. For now, the next step, get that bachelor's degree. Even if you go to community college first, you want to come out at the end of this next section of your life with that bachelor's degree. It's a big separator over most people in the society and in the community. You want to have that. And then the label on the handbag really is not as important as what you put in the handbag when you're in college.
So now some questions have popped up. We've covered the main 6 that we wanted to cover, but I was wondering if you wanted to tag team on a couple of these.
Let's do it.
Okay, so a couple of panelists had asked about the essay again. One in particular was, does the essay have to pertain to the major? And so from my perspective, I think if a student's super passionate, like for example, I had a young lady that wanted to be a veterinarian, wanted to go to Cal Poly Animal Science. She also applied at another school where she had to write an essay. I think for her, writing about her passion with animals made sense because it's who she is. I think other schools like Berkeley, if it's a different kind of question, it doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with a major.
No, it really doesn't. For freshmen, for transfer, it's critical. So when your junior transfer, your questions are going to be a little bit different. Really not that interested in your activities that you're doing, like Red Cross. I mean, it's nice. But what I wanted to see is, what are you doing outside the class that relates to your major? Are you working there, volunteering there, in clubs, social? What are you doing? For a couple of reasons. One, you're going to be a fit, and the department's going to love you because you're going to have real-world experience that maybe somebody doesn't have who came straight in as a freshman. It's theoretical for them. So that's a big plus. It's an opportunity. I agree with you.
And the other question was, how does a college essay work? I mean, I think for me, the understanding of how it works is completely contingent upon the question. So for example, if it's a supplemental question at Stanford that says, how did you spend your summer? That's all they want to know is, how did you spend your summer? Rice put a box on the application and they said, put something in this box. And so I think how the essay works is the students need to understand that they just need to follow the instructions.
Well, and again, shame on us as an industry. We tend to approach you like you're a grown-up, and you're not. So I always take that into account, that this is the first time you're going through this stuff. And you're never going to have a minus with me or with Berkeley admissions. I don't know about other places, but for us, it's either neutral or plus. But we're doing that for all 82,000 freshmen. So that the competitive aspect is what you're up against in the admissions game. I can't change that. But I can assure you that with your best effort, we're going to select you even beyond spaces where I can admit you, based on what you gave me to work with in your application. And that's how somebody like Rik can load up that same application form with more useful information for admissions than maybe you can on your own.
And another specific question for you, it's right in your lane. This one was about the EECS program at Berkeley, and the panelists wanted to know about the characteristics, scores, grades, and experience you look for in an EECS student, and how does that process differ from other majors, like, for example, letters and science?
It's confusing because the application competitiveness now gives you a pretty low admissions number. There's about 1,400 spots for freshmen in overall admissions. A lot of those are EECs. But we have so many more applicants than we did even 5 or 10 years ago that the number gets skewed. Always remember, though, that the applicant pool, those aren't like all the top people. So we're kind of admitting the same people that we were maybe 5 or 10 years ago, but the number looks smaller. You're not being admitted to a graduate program, so parents relax. Again, we're looking for quality based on what you're doing at the high school level. You're spending a lot of time and effort on a lot of APs, a lot of subject exams. That's okay as long as those are all 5s on your APs, okay? All 700 plus on your subject exams. But we're not comfortable having you sacrifice your high school years to get into a good program. So the quality is going to be more important than quantity, and you don't need a lot extra. We admit a lot of people even to EECS that are not on robotics. They're not in charge of programming for robotics and winning all these things. Some of those kids don't have access to that. So we would say be in balance, but again, if you have a chance to be on a robotics team, get yourself to the front, get in, get your hands in it, and tell me about it. But not for the purpose of getting into college, because you really dig what you're doing. That's what's going to get you in. Does that make sense?
And then this one's probably in my lane. The student wrote, or not student, the panelist wrote, does being valedictorian matter? So at one of the high schools at which I worked, we had over 30 valedictorians. So to me, and to listen to the reps, no, it didn't really matter, because that's just one way of identifying a student. But they would rather have a student who is a great fit for their college than they would just someone who had the title of valedictorian.
It's the same thing like with Gold and Girl Scouts or Eagle Scout and Boy Scouts. It's a nice plus, but we're going to be very interested in the specifics behind that. Was it done for your greater glory, or was it done to help other people? Frankly, we're looking for really nice people. I've met a lot of really kind students that are not extroverted, don't have big numbers, but they're really nice. What organization doesn't want that? So if that's you, put it on your application. You're going to be desirable.
And then one more question before we take a break. What makes an admission officer say no to an application? Is there anything that's a glaring like?
Say no? No. I mean, but when you're eligible academically to apply to UC, we will sometimes get some that aren't academically eligible. That would be it. Your GPA is too low. You made your application, or you don't meet the requirements. So if you meet the requirements, it's yes. How high can I place you in the pool? So no. Now other schools, Rick, you may know, but that just sounds nasty to me. I mean, we don't do that. Look at us. You own our school, okay? It's public, okay? It's your place. No, we couldn't do that.
So some of the private schools have said that there are certain things that they might see in an application, especially in the personal statement, that's a turnoff. That might just be a no. They might think that a kid's not being completely honest. They might think that a kid's being heavily coached and it's really not the kid. For example, they can actually log in and see your SAT writing and your ACT writing. And if it looks like Hemingway wrote your personal statement, but it looks like, a different person wrote the SAT writing portion, they'll know that it wasn't the same person.
Well, for UC, remember you self-report. You don't even turn in your transcripts till you're done with school. So we take you at face value. I mean, maybe we might catch Charlie Manson, we might, maybe, but our job is to try to get you in there. And so you don't have to do all that kind of stuff. If you do, you might end up in a place where you're not going to be real comfortable, But remember, in the summertime, after you're offered admission, everything's got to match, or then maybe we don't let you come.
And tell them about the audit. That's possible.
Well, look.
There's a fraction of applicants that
it ought to be fun to go to college, okay? It ought to be fun. Just going, I have to get into Berkeley or my life is over. Well, it might feel that way, but really, where did Steve Jobs graduate? Oh, he didn't graduate, did he? So look, these are opportunities, and I want you to trust me that there's an awful lot of schools out there like the UCs that are working on your behalf. Okay, so you're a California resident, you're really lucky. But whatever state you are, there's all kinds of privates out there and other publics that feel the same way. You don't need to go someplace that's nasty. Go to some place that wants you to enjoy what you're doing and succeed.
So Vinny, with that.
Yeah, for the audience, what we'll do is we will just discuss a few things about how we recommend you proceed from here, and then we'll come back for 2 or 3 more questions before Tim and Rik really need to drop off. So I'm going to share my screen. And so the first recommendation that we have for the college-bound students and their parents on this call is start early. And Rik and Tim, do you have any commentary on that?
Tim will probably tell you how early that he sees kids start, and then I can share the same.
Normally, remember your application is actually going to contain what you achieved for UC in 10th and 11th grade. So you're actually starting on your application when you're in that class you hate in 10th grade. And you look like you might get a B or a C. And you've always been able to get A's on your own. Go get tutoring. Do whatever you have to do to get an A. And well, do the work you have to work. I want you to get A's in those classes because you never know when you're A, you never know when you need it. But also, it's like you're not getting your money's worth when you walk out of a class with a B. The A says, I did what I needed to do to master this subject enough to get the highest grade. If they're handing out A's in the class, I want you to get them. When you get to college, you're going to need tutoring for a lot of classes. And you're going to give tutoring to people that aren't strong in something. You're going to collaborate. So when do you start? As early as possible.
Yeah.
And remember, your application is just a recap of what you've been doing. It's not separate from the reality.
And for middle schoolers out there, what's really important at the high school level, sometimes the track you're on is determined before you even get to 9th grade. And even though the UC doesn't count grades from 9th grade, they still saw what you took in 9th grade, and those subjects will prepare you for the 10th grade. So a lot of times parents and kids say, I heard 9th grade doesn't count. It actually does count. It doesn't count maybe in the same way, but preparation-wise, most of my kids try to get their ducks in a row as early as middle school.
You can get some of your language other than English out of the way in 7th and 8th grade.
And math.
Mm-hmm. I think now, and sometimes in 8th grade, you can even get geometry now.
Yeah, we have some of the kids that are the high rollers will even get Algebra 2 honors out of the way.
Well, as long as you get it, and Rik's point is, if you can get these things earlier, then you're going to have options for more, I'll call them electives, but you don't need to pile on a lot of stuff. So when you start early. If you find yourself, oh man, I'm in 11th grade, I'm just hearing about this for the first time, don't worry. If you've got access to admissions guidance and applications guidance, like somebody like Rik, don't worry. A lot of people get admitted that didn't pick up a pen until September. But I don't recommend it. It's harder that way. And I'm kind of lazy, so I'd rather chip away at it for a while, you know.
So the summary, I think, to what Tim and Rik you are suggesting is start maybe as early as 7th grade, but it generally is like one of our counselors yesterday at a seminar, she was saying possibly to start for her 5-year-old, for her to start is ridiculously early, but yeah, 7th or 8th grade is not too late.
Yeah, I'd rather see students that don't have 5 AP classes their last semester in high school. It's like, you're going to college to get that. So enjoy the things in high school that you're not going to get next, and 7th grade and 8th grade. But when you're spending an hour to do schoolwork, try to put it on things that are going to help you, just like Vinny said, 4 to 5 years from now. An hour's work is an hour's work.
Cool. And the second thing here is that in terms of concrete actions, so one is start early. The second is that if you want people like Rik Napora to help you, and we have several others like him on our site, please go to union.uceeazy.com, select initial consultation to schedule 1 hour of time with them. And only for the people attending the webinar today, if you order by tomorrow, if you order 60 minutes, you would get 90 minutes. The second thing is that once you're done with the initial consultation, we recommend a block of hours to help you. And once you do that, you will get credit for the first hour. And let me now walk you through the hours that we are recommending. So again, remember we talked about starting early. So what we have here is that if your child is a current 8th or 9th grader, we recommend something like 8 hours. And the primary areas of help are for course selection, for the next academic year, get the extracurricular strategy right. And by the way, if you go to uceeazy.com/events, the recording of previous webinars is there. The May 8th webinar was on extracurricular strategy. As a parent, not as an expert like Rik or Tim, as a parent, I can tell you that both my kids had this thing about that the extracurriculars were all done without a strategy, and that hurt at application time.
Can eat up a lot of time.
So
be careful of swimming. I was a swimmer in high school, kept me out of Berkeley. No, just kidding. But it can eat up a lot of time. So if it's your passion, go ahead and do it. But be careful.
So for the sophomores and juniors, we have different block of hours, and you can see the different activities that we're recommending. Send us an email if you would like us to send you this specific list. The other thing is that we're in the process of creating an organizer or calendar specific to different grades, starting from 8th through 12th, for different college admissions related activities that should be done in that year. So send us an email, we'd be happy to send those.
And then Vinny, do you want us to answer some of the other questions you have when you're finished?
Yeah, sure, and almost done here. On the webinars and the seminars that I talked about, again, if you go to uceeazy.com/events, you would see a complete list. We just rolled out the June calendar, which I think is awesome. And for those of you who work for mid to large size corporations, if you want one of our experts like Rik to come to your workplace and present to you and your coworkers, we'll be happy to do that. So with that, Rik, yes, absolutely. Let's launch into a few more questions.
Okay, one of them, and Tim can answer this as well, specifically for Berkeley, but the question was, some kids are at schools where they don't have the same opportunities or advantages as even neighboring schools, for example. One school might have IB and AP, and the next school over might have nothing. So what I tell all my kids, and you can tell me if this is the same for you, is that they only compare you against kids from schools that have had the same opportunities as you.
And that's absolutely true. But also, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, if you don't have a lot of personal resources, you're going to get that accounting for it as well. So, but first, yes, we're going to compare you to what the school has. And we admit schools, students, even to Berkeley, from, frankly, in California, some of these public schools, they're shambles. But the student, with what they had to work with, they were exceptional. So, you know, yeah, maybe that first semester at Berkeley, they might need to catch up to the rigor, but they obviously can. They just need to have the same opportunity as everybody else.
And on that same note, another panelist had asked, what about, can kids take classes outside of their school? And for my district, the answer is, you know, a kid can go to any of our local community colleges for free while they're in a California high school. And so they could go ahead and go to a community college and take Calculus 1, even if their school said no. And then they can send 2 transcripts. And then you at Berkeley would get the community college transcript as well as the high school transcript. Wow. And I know that the UCs will weight those classes as a bonus point for college level.
They're like an IB class or like an AP class. So it's college transferable work. Again, be careful. If it's a B, it's going to be on your college transcript forever. So be careful.
So that's the careful what they wish for, and they need to know going in, and to drop before the W if it's over their head.
Well, yeah, usually it's not an issue, but remember, it's all about when it's college level work. Remember, when you're a transfer, we don't look at your high school work. Same thing when you're a freshman, if you have anything that's transferable, it's going to be on your college transcript forever. In my case, it's on a piece of stone done, you know, a little clay tablet back in.
And a Berkeley specific applicant, I'm assuming future applicant, wanted to know if you're going to do comp sci and econ, do you think they should double major that, one major, one minor, or what's your recommendation on that one?
With double majors, not so much with minors, but with double majors, the earlier you know, the easier it is for you to meet the requirements for each major to graduate in a normal time frame. And just remember, even 40 years ago, the normal time frame for graduation was 3.5 to 5 years. That was the range. And now people graduate at a higher percentage in 4 years today than they did when I went, but the range is still the same. So it kind of depends on what you're going to consume when you're there. It's not like high school. Remember, you got 16-year-olds and 74-year-olds working on an undergraduate degree at a college. And everybody, even like you say, even in an economics major, my transcript's going to be different from the other 200 graduates. We're going to take different electives. So, but the earlier you know, the sooner you can get it all accomplished. But yes, you should be able. Double majors are not that tricky. Minors are actually pretty simple.
And then a couple of people are asking something that I think is in the similar theme, which is the actual question one person asked was about his or her extracurricular science, engineering, STEM. And because research is so time consuming, this person can't do a lot of clubs or volunteer, et cetera. And so they want to know if, you know, Berkeley needs a lot of extracurriculars. But my answer to that is just like Stanford, they'd rather have a kid that's passionate about one thing that does it exceptionally well than 20 things half-baked.
Couldn't have said it better. That's exactly it. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having dim sum, you know, a bunch of, you're 17, you're just trying to find out. But there is more value in depth. A couple of reasons. One, it shows a little bit more involvement, commitment on your part. It also gives you opportunity to be a leader in that or to show other people how to do it. And those are valuable traits you want to have coming out of high school. Most of us don't have that. So that's going to be a desirable at any college.
And I think it's important, too, for the student to realize what an accomplishment is, because some parents have told me that they've sent their kids to Johns Hopkins Gifted and Talented every day since 4th grade. But Johns Hopkins themselves, the reps told us that they don't even give a kid any sort of like accolade in the application process because that's not really an accomplishment. That's more like an activity.
And that is correct. I mean, look, even my school, Berkeley, we have summer sessions. It's nice. Nice. It's not, you know, it's nice, but it can sometimes help you understand what the campus life is going to be like. But in terms of more value for admissions, it doesn't. Again, I'm looking for, with your peers, what did you do? It's kind of like Army basic training. You know, what did you do to help the squad? You know, you're going to be a teammate when you get on a big campus like Berkeley. And if you play well with others, that's very valuable because you're going to collaborate on your work in college. You don't do that so much in high school, so it's harder to pick up. But if you have that, you've already got it by the time you hit the campus. You don't have to learn it.
And even if you have a student that's passionate about something that isn't particularly talented in it, you still would consider that, wouldn't you? You don't have to be like the World Cup karate champion. You can just have been in karate since you were born and loved it ever since, correct?
Yeah. And if the summer session you're in matches what it is, what your interest is in, that's fine. But it's not a cut above necessarily. It's additional layers of activity in the area that you have a real interest in. So I get that. That's good.
And then someone had asked about local competitions. Along that same line was even if you didn't win or if it was honorable mention, like what is important enough to put on, you know, an application to Berkeley underneath activities and achievements? Well,
you should always put those things in that you're doing. Understand, I mean, for me to give a feel of, that's how they're spending their time. But remember, I'm going to look at things like, did you work at Burger King?
I did.
Yeah, and if you don't, to me, that's a missed opportunity. My parents, same thing. Do you help around the house? I'm a grandpa. I get it. But you're looking for those kinds of things that, what are they doing with their time? If they're the beautiful little orchid, they don't have to do anything, probably can still get them admitted. But remember, at some point, they're going to be competing with people that are, frankly, they pull them up by themselves by their own bootstraps. So you want to give them that opportunity, and the love, safety, and comfort of home. I'd rather have them learn about working like in retail a couple hours a week around the hometown. That's only in a big city and have them learn it. I mean, you can, but it's an opportunity. Also, they learn time management. Turns out students at Berkeley that work part-time, 10 to 12 hours a week, perform better academically than students who don't work at all.
Burger King worked great for me. That taught me all kinds of things. Time management.
Yeah, but you work 40 hours a week at the steel mill. That's different. So no, I'm just kidding. But in proportion, you want to make sure that anything that's a maturation, anything that's a skill, anything that's an attribute, anything is going to be an advantage when they get that next step. They're going to be out of the house. You're going to ask them to make decisions with their peers, right? Grown-up stuff. So better that they have a little feel for that before they go on campus, where, yay, we keep an eye on them more than they think at Berkeley, just so you know.
And another
nobody's looking, but we're kind of looking.
So what if I'm from outside
hey, Rik.
Sorry, yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt, but so let's have this as last question. I know we've gone over already. And then so let's do the last question, and then if you and Tim want to make any closing comments.
Okay. So this one was about AP and honors classes. So typically in the state of California, the UC will bless an honors class at a certain grade level and not allow to have AP at the same. So most high schools will have English 10 honors, 9 honors, and then they get into 10th or 11th to 12th grade, and that's AP. So typically what the admissions reps want is to look at by grade level what the most rigorous class that was available to you. And if you've taken that class and done well in that class, then that's definitely a feather in your cap.
Right, so we're looking for rigor, and so college prep, the highest you have, we're going to use that to check. But we're also looking for, again, for quality. I mean, you're in the class. Some districts handle them differently, but if you have an opportunity to take the class and get an A, we would like to see you take the exam that goes with it. I know it might cost a little money, but that's a plus. So the way you get the double hit is you do well in the class and you get a credit-bearing score in the exam. So it's part of the competition. But yes, rigor, just like you mentioned, that's the most important thing.
Awesome. So, hey, Tim and Rik, this was awesome. Thank you for taking the time. Before we sign off, is there anything that you want to say to our audience, which, by the way, is roughly half and half split into students and parents? Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, is there something that you want to say in closing?
I mean, to the students, I really think they should soul search and figure out why it is they want to go to college, and if they can kind of put in sequence of what's most important to them, it makes it way easier for us to guide them toward what the right college is. Until they figure out what it is that's important to them, though, it's a lot more difficult for us.
And I would say, if you're just getting involved in this process, any age level, any grade level, now's the time to start. Remember, the more that you work with a counselor in the beginning, the more you could do on your own. Save yourself some time and money later on, because then you'll have a strategy and a game plan. You compress everything at the end. It can get very stressful. It can get a little bit tough. So the easiest thing to do is just get started comfortably with somebody nearby, an outfit like this, and find out about it. I'd say the time to start on that is now.
Never too early.
Well, you don't have to do everything if you start early. You just get comfortable with it. There's going to be schools out there for you. Like in my case, I was 20 by the time I got to Berkeley, and I was ready. 18, I wasn't. But it's out there for you when you're ready.
Awesome. Hey, Tim, thank you so much for taking time. And Rik, thank you as always. To our audience, thank you so much for joining us today. I would appreciate if you would like us on Facebook and Twitter. And if you have any questions for us, our email is here, info@uceeazy.com. Again, we've got a wonderful webinar series scheduled for June. Please do check out on uceeazy.com/events. This will also include a student panel on June 18th, where a lot of you that are wondering about, hey, how does somebody like you feel? Then that's a great opportunity for the students on this call to talk to current students in a top tier private college. So with that, thank you very much for your time today. And Rik and Tim, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a great week ahead. Bye for now.
Thanks.
Thanks for your interest.
Okay, I need to close this.